There's a new addition to the human family and it's rewritten the history of evolution. A team of Australian and Indonesian archaeologists has discovered the remains of what's believed to be a new species of human.
The secret is out.
Scientists excavating a cave in Indonesia came across the bones of a tiny human skeleton, about 18,000.
The amazing discovery could force us to rewrite the human family album.
It's been hailed as the single most important discovery about human evolution for nearly 100 years.
It's a discovery that shocks the world. Along the eastern edge of Indonesia, on the remote island of Flores, an unexpected and bizarre human is being unearthed. This cave is called Liang Bua. It is now ground zero for the investigation of human origins. A team of field scientists led by Mike Morwood, Bert Roberts, and Thomas Sutikna came here on a routine mission searching for the fossil remains of our ancestors. But when they excavated this hole, they uncovered a new chapter in human history. 15 feet below the surface lies the tiny skeleton of what looks like a little girl, about 3 years old. It's an interesting find, but nothing remarkable. These grainy photos are the only record of the skeleton being uncovered.
It was like wet blotting paper. They had to leave it for 3 days in section just for it to dry out enough that they could then take it out of the deposit. It was that soft and fragile. I mean, it just complete fluke.
The fossil remains are only 18,000 years old. No other humans were alive so recently. She must be one of us. But when the girl is lifted from the hole, things start getting strange. Her molars are extremely worn down. No child should have teeth this flat. Her third molars, or wisdom teeth, have already erupted. No youngster's wisdom teeth should have broken through. And her skull plates are solidly fused together. But a child's skull shouldn't close until she's 18 years old. This can't be a little girl. It has to be a 3.5-foot tall adult. She's like nothing ever seen before.
The features, heavy eyebrow ridges, and a forehead that just disappears straight back from the eyebrows. It just goes shooting back. So if you were to see somebody like this in the street today, you'd be completely amazed by their appearance. They would look completely unlike us. Many of the features that we'd say are modern humans simply weren't present in this individual.
But strangely, she also has some remarkably modern characteristics. Her front teeth are short and sharp like our own. And her femur shows she walks upright. Such a bizarre collection of features is unprecedented. It's a riddle, unlike any in human history.
Archaeology is detective work. We're dealing with material evidence, with clues for what people were doing or what our ancestors were doing. Take these bones here, okay? Just ordinary looking bones. This is part of the mandible of a little hominid about 1 metre high. Okay? It's an adult. Stunning. This high, the height of a 3-year-old.
This little skeleton is someone special. A tiny human who lived only 18,000 years ago. She's undeniably an adult female who shared the planet with modern humans. But she's only 3.5 feet tall, the size of a modern preschooler. So she's an adult female what? The island of Flores is about to reveal its secret. A race of tiny hunters living in a dangerous world. Warriors and innovators living alongside us. This mysterious human was given the scientific name Homo floresiensis, after the island of Flores where she's discovered. But the scientists believe this 3.5-foot tall, 18,000-year-old adult skeleton is so unusual, so unexpected, and so short that she demands another name: the Hobbit. Are the fairy tales based on reality? Almost every culture has stories of tiny people living alongside us. The industrious dwarves of Scandinavia, the deadly Kiliakai of New Guinea, the peaceful Abattoir of Africa, the mischievous Leshy of Eastern Europe, and, of course, J.R.R. Tolkien's brave little hobbits. These tiny reflections of ourselves live in the myths and legends of countless generations. But now science offers up the true story of a miniature race of people. Fully grown and only 3.5 feet tall. Could it be that the earliest tales of a tiny race of humans were shockingly real?
It's so clear and with lots of details.
And is it possible that hobbits are still alive today? Bert Roberts and fellow scientist Gert Vanderberg have learned this village 60 miles from the Liangbua Cave has some critical information regarding the Hobbit. According to these village elders, a race of tiny humans once lived in the caves dotting the nearby volcano. The villagers called these small humans Abugogo, the ancestor who ate everything. They say this tiny human's appetite was so ravenous, whenever the villagers left them offerings, the Abugogo not only ate the food, they ate the dried pumpkin plates as well.
Do they walk like us, sort of upright, normal, or do they kind of bounce around like gibbons, or how do they actually walk?
The elders tell the story of a creature remarkably similar to the Hobbit. Can it be these villagers and the scientists are describing the same creature?
Over 1 meter, so that's actually the same size as we have in Liangbua.
When they describe the face of Abugogo, even more critical similarities emerge.
What about anything up here? Heavy brow ridge?
Yeah, actually that's the same. The face was also monkey-like. So.
One of the men brings out a small skull to better explain the features.
Or just go straight back. So, but a bit more.
The villagers say Abugogo had a shorter muzzle and more of a forehead than this monkey skull. They paint a picture of a creature with a strong resemblance to the Hobbit.
Just like the Hobbit's.
Yeah.
Are Abugogo and the Hobbit one and the same? The villagers say these tiny humans vanished just 300 years ago without a trace. But is it possible they're still out there? So far, this tiny skeleton is raising more questions than answers.
It's a completely new species of human, the Hobbit. You know, I'm one of the lucky few. Soon, everyone will sort of want to come and visit this site because it's, you know, home of the Hobbit. You know, this is. It's going to be, you know, a famous archaeological site.
The discovery of the Hobbit turns our understanding of human origins upside down. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The team believes the key to understanding the Hobbit lies in proving where they came from.
How did the ancestors of this little hominid get to Flores? Flores has always been an island.
How does a 3.5-foot tall race of humans end up on a speck of land that's been an island for millions of years?
Very few animal species managed to make it here, particularly from Asia or from Australia. But early hominids did. And we have no idea how.
The answer might lie at the end of a trail of bones going back nearly 2 million years. Homo erectus, an ancestor once described as the missing link between apes and man. But almost 2 million years ago, Homo erectus leaves Africa to become the first great human colonizer. He walks over 6,000 miles of unexplored lands. And at least 1 million years ago, Erectus makes it to the shores of modern Indonesia, where he's forced to stop. But what if Erectus didn't stop when he reached the Pacific? Austrian-born scientist Robert Bednarik is convinced Homo erectus was a seafarer. He claims that Erectus was smart enough to take the materials on hand and build himself a raft. Using the dried bamboo, jungle vines, and tree sap available to him. Perhaps Homo erectus became the first human species to stare at the ocean and choose to venture forth. His journey thousands of years before the Hobbit walked on Flores may lead us to the origins of the tiny humans. If Erectus could make this ocean crossing to Flores, then perhaps he plays a critical role in the evolution of the Hobbit.
Robert, how's it going?
Mike, we've set up a little experiment here for you.
You've been very, very busy, Robert. Very, very busy indeed. Gee whiz. I'm a little bit worried about this, Robert. Going to see him something like this, okay.
I would put it at a 40 to 50% probability that we'll make it without any assistance. So I'm not all that confident at all.
Sunrise. A crew of 10 Homo sapiens launched themselves in the wake of their million-year-old ancestors. It would have taken considerable intelligence and teamwork for Homo erectus to move a raft over 12 miles of open ocean.
To think about people rafting here more than 800,000 years ago is mind-boggling. You must have language if you're going to organise the building of a raft. They're smart.
Erectus would have to be a skilled seafarer to navigate the dangerous deep water channels separating Indonesia's islands. One of the strongest currents flows between Sumbawa and Flores, the home of the Hobbit. Around 1 million years ago, the tiny island of Komodo was connected to Flores. But separating the islands is the perilous Komodo Straits, one of Indonesia's most dangerous ocean crossings. Erectus would have aimed for the faint outline of Komodo Island on the horizon.
It's actually a lot further than I thought it was going to be. I can imagine Erectus doing this, but maybe Homo erectus was made of sterner stuff than me.
The journey should take about 9 hours, including the passage through the Komodo Straits. The raft has to complete its mission to prove that early man could have made it to Flores. But the fierce currents are pushing them off course.
And we really want to get over to Komodo, which is about maybe 22 kilometers as the crow flies, but we're not flying like a crow. We're sort of zigzagging around, getting pulled this way and that by currents.
And it's unknown if humans today, or 1 million years ago, can break through to Flores, the home of the Hobbit. As Homo erectus pushed towards Flores, he couldn't know that if he survived the dangers at sea, his fate might be forever entwined with the Hobbits. The modern expedition has been blown way off course. They are now far south of their destination, Komodo Island. 1 million years ago was Homo erectus also being pushed into the open ocean, perhaps never to return. Their bold attempt to prove Erectus was a seafarer is in peril. But after 5 more hours of arduous paddling, the team finally breaks through the straits and reaches the shore of Komodo Island. There's no place to land along the rocky coastline.
Well, at the moment I'm not very worried about Homo erectus, I'm more worried about us.
The trip is a success, but going ashore might destroy the raft.
Well, obviously we can't land here. We've touched the rock, so we'll call it off at this point in time.
It's been a rougher trip than I'd have liked, but it's been really remarkable. It surprised me. I really didn't think personally it could be done, and now Robert's convinced me it could be.
A critical piece of the puzzle is now in place. The team has shown how early humans could have reached Flores, the home of the Hobbit. But this modern adventure is nothing compared to what Homo erectus may have accomplished 1 million years ago.
You can't have one pregnant woman land on an island and populate it for eternity.
Homo erectus would need more than one raft to colonize Flores. He would need a bigger gene pool, perhaps an ancient armada. But our courageous ancestors couldn't know what lay in store for them on Flores. This mysterious island would prove to be anything but paradise. Flores may have been the last island Homo erectus ever reached. The end of the line for his species, and the birthplace of the Hobbit. The theory is, approximately 800,000 years ago, when Homo erectus first landed on Flores' rocky coastline, he encountered a mostly barren island. Living amongst the scrub and diminished resources of Flores, something extraordinary started to happen. Something that's been happening all around us for millions of years. On islands. Islands are cauldrons for extreme evolution. From the Galapagos to Madagascar to New Guinea. Islands can dynamically change whatever animals come ashore. And Flores is no exception. An extraordinary collection of animals is found amongst the Hobbit's bones. Huge reptiles, oversized rats, and 4-foot-tall elephants. We know modern elephants and their ancestors are highly adept at swimming great distances. Fossil records suggest only 2 large land mammals are capable of repeated ocean crossings longer than 12 miles. Swimming elephants and seafaring humans. At some point, a herd of elephants made its way to Flores. Faced with only limited resources and painfully little to eat, they learned that on islands, it doesn't pay to be big. The best way for your population to survive is to reduce your need for food. And the quickest way to do that is to shrink. Stegodon, a prehistoric pachyderm that strode across the Asian mainland at over 8 feet tall. But on the island of Flores, he shrank to just over 4 feet.
Flores is a very bizarre world. It's really a lost world. It's almost Jurassic Park without the dinosaurs.
A new world order is evolving. On islands like Flores that offer meager food, large mammals that eat a lot shrink, while small mammals and cold-blooded reptiles grow to take advantage of the changing environment. Megalania. This 20-foot lizard king may have lived on Flores. An example of how reptiles can fill the niche of an island's top predator when large mammals shrink. The fossils of the Liangbua cave are proving that 1 million years ago, nature's laws were wreaking havoc on the wildlife of Flores. But that's as it should be on islands. What we didn't know until now is the power islands have on us.
No one has ever reported a small species of human like that. Someone who came in, possibly full size, and dwarfed down to someone who's basically half our size at the present day.
The team believes when Homo erectus walked onto Flores, he had no idea what was about to hit him. With not enough to eat, Erectus became the first recorded human to shrink in the face of a harsh environment. Over thousands of years, he morphed into a totally new human species. He morphed into the Hobbit.
Stegodon shrinks. Hominids shrink exactly the same way. Okay? Here, evolution works on us.
Nobody thought that humans were subject to dwarfing. We thought that humans were far too clever. We can adapt, we're flexible people.
But now it looks like the Hobbit changes everything, and the rules of human evolution are transformed. Even we must bend to the laws of nature. And for the first time ever, Homo erectus says hello to his incredible offspring.
Recognise him?
Classic Homo erectus.
Sangren 17.
The claimed missing link between us and apes.
Basically got no forehead and just this massive brow ridge.
It just goes straight back from there.
Straight back.
Geez, if you saw one of these people out in the street today, you'd get a surprise.
A relative.
Java Man and Peking Man, two of the best known examples of ancient Homo erectus. Is it possible that over millennia, one of Asia's early humans actually shrank to nearly half size to become the tiny hobbits?
Now we look at our most recent discovery. And this is our finding from Liang Bua, the Hobbit. Just a cast, but anyway.
So we'll make other casts, more natural looking casts from this one.
Basically, the Hobbit is derived from a large Homo erectus population that colonised Flores more than 800,000 years ago. And over 800,000 years, they've adapted to the island and shrunk and become a totally new species.
Some of the same characteristics, very thick eyebrow ridges, very little forehead.
Look how incredibly small it is compared with these other skulls.
Isn't it?
This is the smallest human species on record.
And a brain case of only the size of an orange. Let's compare it with your skull, mate.
Well, I've got a big skull. Lots of brain in there.
I mean, that is fantastic. I mean, that is an incredibly small.
And you're talking about my skull? And the height, okay, the height. Can we move it here? Okay. The height of this little hominid was this big. About the height of this table.
About the height of the table.
About the height of this table. The smallest human species recorded from anywhere in the world, and it's from this island.
Word of the Hobbit's discovery on an Indonesian island is spreading, and the team continues their investigation. The discovery of a tiny race of humans that lived just 18,000 years ago, alongside us, seems incredible, but not unbelievable. The scientific community is stunned.
The evidence is clear that this is something very different from us. I mean, to have primitive humans on a remote island in Indonesia is one thing. To find that they were about 3 foot tall, with brains the size of chimpanzees, even more remarkable, and then to find they were still alive less than 20,000 years ago, it's all really astonishing.
Is this the real deal here? We have a new species on our hands?
It's absolutely the real deal.
This specific woman that they found was 12 to 13,000 years
That's the most
old?
exciting thing about it.
The Hobbits is one of the most interesting and intriguing fossils ever found.
But some scientists disagree. They say the Hobbit is simply too extraordinary. She must be a Homo sapien, a modern human, but one who's stricken with a tragic disease.
Professor Jacob claims the skeleton is that of a dwarf suffering from microcephaly, a congenital disorder which produces a very small brain.
Everything points to the direction of Homo sapiens. They are clearly sapient.
Critics like Dr. Jacob say the Hobbit's skeleton is really just a Homo sapien with a diseased brain the size of a grapefruit. Could this be a sickly human called a microcephalic? An analysis of the Hobbit's brain could reveal if she's a modern human, an ancient relative, or someone new. Scientists at the Mellencrot Institute of Radiology in St. Louis use CAT scan machines and 3D modeling to recreate the skulls and brains of our ancestors. Dr. Dean Falk of Florida State University leads the reconstruction of the 18,000-year-old mind of the Hobbit. She prepares herself with an arsenal of skulls and brain molds called endocasts. Falk's analysis can confirm or destroy the contention that the Hobbit is a completely new species of human. She starts by investigating the claim that the Hobbit's brain is simply too small to be healthy. The Hobbit must be a modern human who suffers from microcephaly, a birth defect that results in a small skull and an underdeveloped brain.
This is a human microcephalic. And look how small the microcephalic is compared to the Hobbit. But furthermore, and most important, look at the shape of this brain case. Totally different skull shape than in the Hobbit.
Inside the skull, the brain shape of the Hobbit and the microcephalic are also totally different. The Hobbit brain has the signature shape of early humans, while the microcephalic brain doesn't resemble any human species.
Doesn't look like a Hobbit endocast. Looks like a microcephalic endocast, and that is very, very different than the Hobbit. The Hobbit is not a microcephalic.
Other scientists claim the Hobbit is just a pygmy, a short modern human who's evolved to take advantage of its unique jungle environment. Falk examines the brains of these two humans to see if there's a match.
What do you see? Right away you see the pygmy is so much bigger than the Hobbit.
In fact, pygmies are modern humans, with brains 2 or 3 times the size of the Hobbit.
When we look at the Hobbit, she's got a tiny brain. So I think we can safely say she is not a human pygmy. She is a Hobbit.
According to the team, this odd collection of bones from a cave in Indonesia is no longer a riddle. It is a revelation. She is now clearly the Hobbit, a new and extraordinary human species standing 3.5 feet tall, just over half the height of a modern human. Her journey began on an island where Homo erectus fell prey to powerful forces of nature. But critical questions remain unanswered. What did the Hobbit look like? How did such tiny people survive? And what finally killed the Hobbits? In Denver, Colorado, scientist and sculptor John Gurche has been given a mission by the National Geographic Society. Put flesh on the bone of this tiny skull and bring to life the face of the Hobbit. Rebuilding the face of someone who died 18,000 years ago is a huge challenge. John's tools include charts and diagrams detailing the musculature and soft tissue of humans and apes. Armed with a pair of calipers, he begins to reconstruct the face of the Hobbit.
If these things were still running around today, alive, my job would be a lot easier. When someone does a forensic reconstruction using modern data, they can take a lot of shortcuts. But in this case, we're dealing with an extinct species.
Where most people see a skull, John sees a treasure map. He explores the contours of the Hobbit's face, searching for lost pieces of bone. After 1 week, the Hobbit's skull returns to its pristine condition, and John's given Homo floresiensis a nickname, Flo.
So you compare a modern skull with Flo's skull, and some differences immediately pop out. Size being a huge one. You can also see the lack of a chin. There are lots of differences. She's not a modern skull.
Reconstructing Flo is really sculpting by numbers. Every muscle on Flo's face must be perfectly attached to the skull. Every piece of cartilage must slide effortlessly into place.
But if I sort of pull back from it for a second and look at her, I think the thing that I feel emotionally or aesthetically is an anticipation about meeting her. I'm very excited to see what her final face is going to look like.
Flo's gaining her own unique identity. She's becoming human, gazing at the world for the first time in 18,000 years.
I'm not trying to come up with a blank sort of mannequin. It needs to have a soul. You need to feel that you can look into its eyes and make some kind of connection. This is going to be a symbolic moment where people of our time get a look at this creature for the first time. And I wouldn't say that she's got a frightened look on her face, but it's definitely kind of wary. And I almost want to tell her, I won't hurt you. I'm going to back away. I won't hurt you.
But Flo didn't need our sympathy. New evidence is uncovered amongst the bones of the Hobbit. These stegodon remains show signs of butchering. Alongside them are stone tools and what appear to be spear points, early humans' weapons of choice.
These little hominids were hunting and butchering, eating stegodon and Komodo dragon as well. Where we have evidence for hunting of stegodon, we also have quite a unique technology. We have lots and lots of these stone blades and stone points. Some of them are clearly used for butchering stegodon, and some of them are almost certainly half the spear points for the hunting of stegodon. And these are all associated with little humans with brains smaller than that of a chimpanzee. So it's quite a unique sort of discovery. These little guys were doing all sorts of interesting, complex things.
3.5-foot tall hunters stalking 4-foot tall elephants. A team of predators overwhelming their prey.
We're not dealing with a sort of upright chimpanzee here. We're dealing with quite a sophisticated community.
But hobbits have roughly the same size brain as chimpanzees. One would think they have similar intelligence. Then why is one animal fishing for termites while the other is taking down elephants?
So there's a real mystery here. Why can something this small be capable of these advanced cognitive activities?
So the Hobbit,
Falk calls in two experts, Charles Hildebolt and Kurt Smith, to help decipher the mystery.
To a very dramatic. And
human brains look different from our ape ancestors, including chimps. To know just how smart the Hobbit is, we need to find which ancient cousin her brain most resembles.
Similarity between these two brains.
And from every angle, one seafaring ancestor emerges as the closest relative of the Hobbit.
They look very close indeed. The Hobbit's overall shape resembles the endocast from Homo erectus.
It's compelling evidence that our ancestor Homo erectus and the Hobbit are closely related. But given the Hobbit's small brain, there must be something extraordinary that accounts for its intelligence.
In these three specimens is that this area 10 seems unique. Maybe not as much.
At the very front of the Hobbit's brain is something unexpected. A feature that's literally bursting at the seams.
A unique shape with regard to what I've seen.
These two bulges at the front of the brain are called Brodmann's Area 10. Every great ape and human brain has one, but the Hobbit's Area 10 has the largest swellings they've ever seen. This is remarkable, because Area 10 is a critical site for some of the brain power that makes us human.
For instance, planning ahead, taking initiative, carrying out intentions. And here we have a specimen with a whopping big Area 10. It looks huge in the Hobbit. And it's bigger than in Homo erectus. It's bigger than any other hominid where I've seen this feature.
Perhaps being so small in a world of giant predators and prey inspired the hobbits to take control of their dangerous world, using weapons and even fire.
Maybe it is possible that something with a little tiny brain can be wired so specially and in such a complex internal way that it's capable of some human-like technology and behaviors. And that's amazing.
Flo is now almost complete. After hundreds of hours of work, John has meticulously reconstructed her face. Shrunken casts of John's ears serve as the hobbits. Plastic wrap and a sewing needle carve out the final pores and wrinkles.
She's pretty close.
It's almost time to show the world the face of the Hobbit.
It's a nail biter. If this part goes wrong, you're in serious trouble.
But it doesn't go wrong. And after 18,000 years, the Hobbit's makeover is nearly complete. Flo has a dark skin tone to match her tropical home. Because she's a mature woman, she has weathered eyes and a touch of gray.
You can still see this feature here, which is kind of a keel on the frontal bone. It's a feature that's common in Homo erectus. I think one of the amazing things about this find is we've been underestimating the creativity of nature and of what evolution can do in regard to the human family.
From deep in the earth, a remarkable woman has emerged.
It's a really intriguing mix. The brow ridges are modest. There's not much of a valley behind them. And the forehead has a pretty steep climb. And she doesn't have a chin, so that tends to look more archaic. She has a projecting nose, very short upper lip area between nose and mouth. That gives her more of a modern look. I would almost say it's still hard to believe that there was once a race of these tiny, tiny human-like creatures.
But one can't argue with the facts.
Do you reckon this one's bigger than the other one, Thomas? Or?
More and more bones are emerging from the cave floor.
That's good. We've got 3,000 years difference now.
And we still have other material above this, don't we?
Yeah, right up to about 12,000.
It's proof that Flo was not alone. She was part of a community of hobbits that lived in this cave for generations.
So we have a different individual.
Yes.
Another one.
Yes, another one.
If you're right, that's another tibia. Yeah. It's a very, very valuable specimen. Okay.
Yes.
A total of 7 hobbits have now been discovered in the cave, dating from almost 100,000 years ago to just 13,000 years ago.
This is the shin bone, Thomas.
Yes, yes.
The bones yield further proof that a tiny race of humans lived in this cave for more than 80,000 years.
See?
Half by size,
yes.
maybe?
Less than half, I think.
Less than half.
How did they survive for so long? It seems hobbits are tool makers and big game hunters. They must be working together to take down a Komodo dragon. But chances are these hunters may also have been the hunted. And not just by giant lizards. The human race is really a parade of casualties. The competition for survival was fierce. And in the end, only one human species was left alive. Or so we thought. Do the math. Modern humans leave Africa around 60,000 years ago. We quickly colonize Asia, reaching Indonesia about 50,000 years ago. With our big brains, we traverse Indonesia's archipelago and soon reach Australia, which means we would have reached Flores around the same time. We may have lived alongside hobbits for thousands of years.
It's extremely significant that modern humans and the Hobbit lived together for 20,000, maybe 30,000, maybe even 40,000 years before the Hobbit finally went extinct. But we don't know at the moment how the two species actually interacted. Did we predate on them, or did we just avoid them, or did they predate on us?
Chances are it wasn't a fair fight. We Homo sapiens have a nasty track record for overwhelming the competition. But if we did live alongside each other for 30,000 years, we may have made an exception for our tiny cousins. And is it possible that even today, somewhere in the islands of Indonesia, the hobbits are still alive? This village on the island of Flores is 60 miles from the cave where the hobbit skeletons were discovered. These men say the hobbits lived on the smoky flanks of a nearby volcano 300 years ago. And then what happened? The villagers reveal a stunning surprise. The hobbits have a dark side.
They kept on coming down from their side, and they plundered the gardens.
And that was just the beginning. The hobbits, whom the villagers call Abu Gogo, also raided people's homes, taking whatever they wished. And the villagers have another secret. They took revenge on the hobbits.
The reason why they finally went after these Abu Gogo was because they had stolen a baby.
The hobbits' kidnapping of an infant enraged the villagers. They stormed the volcano, hoping to rescue the child. But the baby was already dead.
Marah, kasih ijuk. Mereka kalau kasih ijuk senang.
In their fury, the villagers set fire to the cave, and the hobbits inside.
Did some of the Abu Gogo die in the cave?
Mereka
Did they all
mati.
escape?
Ya, ada yang luput. Lari dia arah ke sana.
A remnant population of hobbits might have survived the villagers' attacks and could have returned to the caves. But the men say no one has ever dared climb the slopes of this still smoking volcano. There's no scientific evidence the hobbits of Liang Bua were murdered by modern humans. The most complete skeleton the team has found is Flo's. She's already told us a lot. How she lived. Even what she looked like. But we still don't know how she died.
There's no real evidence of how the Hobbit died. There's no sort of hole in the head. There's no broken bones. There's nothing that indicates that this person died a violent death. So that still remains one of the many mysteries about the Hobbit.
Perhaps Flo was part of a hunting party, and she returned to the Liang Bua cave badly injured. She collapsed in the silty water and disappeared.
We now believe the Hobbit died in perhaps a little pond and was rapidly buried by water with clays and lots of muds in it. And that stopped the skeleton from being dismembered by Komodo dragons. And that gave us this a little time capsule where we could come back and, sheer serendipity, excavate a hole and come straight down on the skeleton.
How Flo died is still guesswork. But there's no doubt the trail of the hobbits at Liang Bua Cave dramatically ended 12,000 years ago.
And at this point, we've obviously got a major break. This white material is volcanic ash that obviously came into this cave, buried these sediments, and probably buried the last of the hobbits from the Stegodon with it.
12,000 years ago, Mother Nature may have wiped out her own great experiment in evolution. The 80,000-year reign of the Liang Bua hobbits was over. Above this ash layer, there are no more remains of hobbits or pygmy stegodon.
It's a metre thick, this deposit. That's 3 foot thick. A huge amount of volcanic ash. So it wasn't a minor eruption, it wasn't a small eruption. It was something serious, something so serious, probably knocked out all of the hobbits at the same time, at least locally. There may be other parts of Flores where the hobbits survived a bit later, but here, this really does mark the termination of the hobbit. At this point, extinct.
The hobbits of Flores may have come to an end 12,000 years ago. But their skeletons are hidden below ground, waiting to be uncovered. The search will continue when the monsoon season is over and the dry weather returns. The end of the dig signals a new beginning, and modern humans say hello again to hobbits, the last of our kind with whom we shared the planet. But as the story spreads, so does the controversy.
I'd have thought that the stone tools found with the hobbits on Flores are very sophisticated, the sort that you might expect Homo sapiens to be making, and that it wasn't them, wasn't the little fellas that made the tools.
There'll always be critics and skeptics. Eventually, the sheer weight of evidence will push them under.
CAT scans and 3D modeling demonstrate the hobbit's tiny brain is unlike any other human species. Facial reconstruction reveals the hobbit's unique appearance. But the team says the most convincing evidence comes from flow. These are not the 18,000-year-old bones of a pygmy, a microcephalic, or any other known human. This is someone new. This is the Hobbit.
We're fascinated by these mysteries. We're fascinated by our past. We crave knowledge. We're curious. Certainly the whole base of archaeology is we are curious about our past.
And these archaeologists have shared a remarkable story. How an ancient ancestor found a way to cross the planet, until his journey ended on an island where a new human species was born. Perhaps the most remarkable human of all. But these scientists are still only scratching the surface. Because the real lesson of The Hobbit is that every island along the path of our ancestors may be a sanctuary for more extraordinary human beings. And Indonesia alone has over 13,000 islands.
How many more new human species are we going to find that have never been found before? What else are we likely to find over the next few decades? Who can tell? Because it's only in the last year that we found this complete new species of human. There could be new species of human in other places.
The real legacy of The Hobbit is not just the wonders of evolution. The Hobbit forces us to redefine the very borders of humanity, and asks how many other relatives still await our discovery, just below the surface or lurking in the shadows.
Thank you for your support of the National Geographic Society. With your help, we are able to further our non-profit mission to increase global understanding through education, exploration, research, and conservation. National Geographic, helping you to explore the world and all that's in it.